Vote 2016, the Palm Beach County Commission District 7 Democratic Debate, representing cities throughout our community, including West Palm Beach, Riviera Beach, all the way down to Delray Beach. Lawrence Gordon, the Vice Mayor of Haverhill. He served 3 terms as council member. Gordon recently retired from practicing law after 25 years. And the moderator for tonight's debate, CBS 12's 25-year veteran anchor, Liz Quirantes.
Welcome to the Palm Beach County Commission District 7 Democratic Debate. I'm Liz Quirantes. The primary is August 30th, so for the next hour, we will be asking our candidates questions, including questions we've collected from leaders throughout our community. The first question is from Kelly Smallridge from the Business Development Board of Palm Beach County. She asks, what types of businesses do you think should be recruited to Palm Beach County? Mr. Gordon, you have 45 seconds to answer that question.
Thank you. Right now, there's a serious problem with low-paying jobs here. So I think we need to focus on those jobs that are going to pay a living wage. And when I say a living wage, I'm referring to something $14 an hour or higher. Now, we all know that small businesses is the engine that drives this country. So we need to bring as many small businesses as we can, medical, professionals. But I think the key is jobs that pay well. We have plenty of jobs that pay $7, $8, $9 an hour. We don't need more of that. We need jobs that are going to give a living wage so our people can go forward. I think we should focus on situations that are going to generate quite a few jobs. There are a lot of things that we have here that nobody else has. And the water, the marine focus, we need to get our people trained, ready to go, so that when these big companies come in, they want to build yachts, clean yachts, whatever they want to do, we should be ready. So I think we need to focus on training, getting our people ready, prepared to step in and do the job.
All right, thank you. Let's go now to our next question. It is from Ray Whiteley from Black Matters Vote. He's the founder there. And he asks, what will you do to ensure that the Black community will benefit from any development or redevelopment initiatives that are publicly subsidized? Mr. Gordon, you have 45 seconds.
The disparity study is supposed to come out in October, but we shouldn't be waiting around on that disparity study. We don't know what it's going to say. It could say there is a problem. It could say there is not a problem. So we need to move forward on our own. We need to look at making sure that we're helping Black businesses get certified, making sure that we're assisting Black businesses in getting the bonding and insurance and those kind of things that they need to qualify for these jobs. And I also think the county should look at breaking these big jobs down into smaller numbers, 25 million, 50 million, so forth and so on. So a lot more companies can qualify, not just at the 90, 80, 100, 150 million like we're currently dealing with. Until we get the results of this diversity study, we are basically governed by a 1989 case, the City of Richmond versus Croson, which basically says you can't set aside for specific groups. So as I said, we've got to find a way to get this done without waiting on that set aside. We can partner with the Black Chamber, for example, to make sure that Black businesses are getting certified. Atlanta and Miami have good programs where they're doing things to get more business to minority-owned companies, and we should follow suit.
Now, to our next question. It's from Chuck Shaw, the Palm Beach County School Board Chair, and he is asking, how would you approach the school district's issues of crime and prevention? Mr. Gordon, we'll begin with you for 45 seconds.
I think the first thing I would do is what I've already done, and that is meet with each member of the school board to learn what the challenges are, what the problems are. Then if we're talking about crime on campuses, for example, they have their own police force, the school district does. And of course, the county is represented by the sheriff. We could certainly urge those two to get together to see what we could do to help. Obviously, we don't want to step on each other's toes, but generally positive things come from cooperation. So I would urge the powers that be as far as law enforcement goes with the county to get together with the school board and see what we can do to make things better.
Mr. Gordon, you have 30 seconds for a rebuttal or response.
I think in most instances in life, the KISS rule is the best thing to do. Keep it simple. And I think the first thing we need to do is just simply ask the school board and their law enforcement team, what do you need? What can we do to help? I think that's the first thing we need to do. And once we've talked and identified the problem, if we can help within the rules without stepping on each other's toes or violating any ordinances or laws, then that's what we should proceed to do.
Let's go to our next question. It is from the Delray Beach Police Department from Chief Jeffrey Goldman. He asks, given the current nationwide heroin crisis and prevalence of the recovery industry in Palm Beach County, what will you do to help regulate the industry, preventing the so-called bad operators?
The addiction under the current laws is considered to be a disease. Therefore, they get the same protection under the American with Disabilities Act. But I do think that we may be throwing our hands up a little too quickly. What we've done in our city, we have passed an ordinance that applies to all buildings where people who are living together are not related. And what we said is, after a certain number, if there's a building where people are not living together, those buildings need to be at least 1,000 feet apart. Now, so far that ordinance has not been tested, but we think it makes perfect sense. And we're not discriminating against everybody because we're saying it applies against anybody because we're saying it applies to every house that contains a certain number of unrelated people.
Mr. Gordon, you have 30 seconds.
Yes, well, we do have to be careful about isolating or discriminating because they're sober homes. But I think the best approach is to have a universal thing that applies to everybody, not just sober homes. And I think if we consider looking at it that way, there's a possibility that we'll be able to come up with some rules that will hold up under the ADA. And the key is not discriminating, but treating everybody the same. And I think that's the way we need to look at it.
All right. Let's take a look at our next question, and that is from Kelly Smallridge again. She is asking, do you support the granting of government incentives to entice companies to move to Palm Beach County over another state? Mr. Gordon, you have 45 seconds to answer.
I think on occasion that incentives are something that should be considered, but it's not something that we should do willy-nilly. I think it should be a special company that's going to bring something new and exciting. And even under those circumstances, we need to make sure that we get a certain number of jobs, that they're going to be local hires, that they're going to be here for a certain number of years, 5, 10, whatever the decision might be. And we've got to hold their feet to the fire to make sure that they keep their word. Don't let them come in, like so often happens, 1 or 2 years and things fall apart. That doesn't work. Use it sparingly when it's absolutely necessary and make sure that everybody keeps their word.
Mr. Gordon, you have 30 seconds.
As I said, I think it's something that should be used sparingly, and when we do decide to go down that road, the rules should be very specific and very clear so that everybody understands, so there'll be no problems down the road. And I think as close as possible, if we're going to give money, incentives or whatever to a company, they're doing local hiring, and that local hiring should reflect the mix of our local economy. For example, in District 7, people of color are about 17%. So that would be an example, so forth and so on. So we just got to make sure that we hold their feet to the fire and that they keep their promises.
All right. Our next question is from a viewer. It's not going to be on the screen. I'll just read it from them. Lorenzo Ham is asking, as commissioner, what will be your agenda to forge an understanding between law enforcement and the community in which they protect and serve, especially within the Black community, after the shooting of an unarmed man in which the Palm Beach County sheriffs were involved?
Palm Beach County and District 7, we have a very diverse county, and we need to look at policing with that in mind. I think, first of all, the police force should reflect the mix of this county, whatever those numbers may be. And then secondly, I think we need to push very hard for community policing, where the officers come to the community, get out of their cars, have lunch with people, talk to people, how you doing, how's the new baby doing, hey, tell me about the new dog, whatever's going on. And if we can get more of that kind of thing going on, combined with good, solid training, so our police officers will be accustomed to dealing with people from all walks of life, all races, all sexes, so forth and so on. And if we push in that direction, I think we'll see a lot of improvement. Our police force has to be reflective of our society at large. I was talking with a gentleman who works for the Sheriff Department not too long ago. He's an African American, and he happens to be a lieutenant. And he was telling me that there were 4,000 employees with the Sheriff Department, and only 6 are lieutenant or higher. That shouldn't be. We've got to make changes. Have those departments reflect our neighborhoods, reflect our counties, and I guarantee you that things will get better.
All right, let's go to our next question. This is from Chuck Shaw, once again, the school board chair. The growth we are now seeing in our schools is positive, but also causes some issues. How can the county ensure that schools are constructed as part of large development, both with land set aside and with buildings? Mr. Gordon, we'll begin with you. 45 seconds.
Unfortunately, our good governor made that very difficult to do with these different laws and rules that have been passed. In the old days, when these big developers built these mega developments in smaller cities, they had to contribute to all of the things that came along with it. Extra roads, extra schools, so forth, and those kind of things. Now, it's been reduced to what's called a pro rata share, and pretty much within their confines. So it's very, very difficult to do. As a matter of fact, most of that has been shifted to us, meaning the taxpayers. So we have got to find a way to put more pressure on these developers to do their fair share of everything that needs to be done. Otherwise, we're going to continue to go down that slippery slope towards more trouble. Well, never mind. I think, as I said earlier, we've just got to push. We've got to get together with the school board, figure out what the needs are. Those things that the county commission can do, we should do, and that's in conjunction with the school board.
All right, thank you. Let's go to our next question now. It's from Ray Whiteley, and he is asking, research clearly indicates a disparity in academic achievement with respect to race, family wealth, and gender. Will you support current efforts to invest in a high-quality child care system that works for everyone and makes child care affordable and available for both middle-class families and underpaid families with guaranteed support for all working families that need it?
The answer is absolutely yes. It's very difficult and very expensive to live here in Palm Beach County, and it's very difficult not to have both parents working in families, and that's more the norm than the exception. And the cost of traditional child care can be quite expensive. Sometimes it really doesn't make economic sense when you figure out what they're actually spending for it. So we need to step in and help whenever we can and make sure that kids get off to a good start, good nutrition, and not just the beginning of the day, but also at the end of the day, that 3 or 4 hours when school ends and parents get home. There's an organization called Primetime. I've been on that board for quite a few years. And that's what it focuses on, making sure kids have something to do between 3 and 6, stay out of trouble, something positive. It is a very serious situation, serious issue. We should take it very seriously. We should all try and come together, whether it's the local, county, and federal, to do whatever we can, because there is no doubt that the future of this county and every other county is our children. We should get them off to a good start, make sure they get what they need so that we can go forward in a positive manner.
All right. Our next question is from Twitter. It's from Corey Nearing. And it's a short question, but it's a big question. What is the top issue facing the district?
I think it's a combination of a livable wage and housing. We definitely need more jobs that pay much better than what they're paying now. And we have a very serious problem as far as housing goes. There was a recent study done by Harvard in terms of affordability, and they ranked areas from 1 being the worst all the way up to the 350 plus being the best place in terms of affordability. New York City is in the 80s. West Palm Beach is number 7. So we are less affordable than New York. That is absolutely insane, and we need to address this. $1,500 average for a 1-bedroom apartment, $325,000 for a house. We cannot sustain this. We have got to stop this. So those are our two biggest problems. I think we need to get this housing situation under control. Young teachers, young police officers, young firemen, these are the people who basically hold our society together. If you talk to anybody who's successful and you ask them who are the top 5 people in their lives, almost always they're going to include a teacher. And here, teachers can't afford to live here. They're driving from Port St. Lucie. We have got to fix this.
That concludes the question and answer portion of our show. Now we will begin closing statements, and each candidate will have 90 seconds. Mr. Gordon, you have 90 seconds for your closing statement.
Thank you. We have spent the last hour talking about all of the problems that we currently have in Palm Beach County and District 7. And we're talking about the problems that we currently have under this city commission. We've talked about housing, slow job growth, low wages, unemployment, lack of opportunities for our youth. That's what we've been talking about for the last hour under this current commission. And the only way that we're going to make a change is to change the people. We're growing at about 1.09%. Broward, Tampa, Orlando, they're all near 4 and 5%. And the only difference is the people who are running the show. We all have nice sun, beaches, so forth and so on. So we need to make a change at the top. Change this commission so we can make some progress. I have lived in District 7 for 20 years. I care, I'm committed, and I have the courage to make the tough decisions. I would like to be your next Palm Beach County Commissioner, District 7. A vote for Lawrence Gordon is a vote for positive change.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. And that completes the debate for tonight. Remember to tune in August 30th to CBS 12 News for complete coverage of the primary race. I'm Liz Quirantes. Thank you for joining us.